Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Blake Quorum said the Michigan Wolverines will go to the national championship and win. Enough said. Malik Bryant should benefit tremendously from Lance Guidry's defense, right? So let's start with this. Blake Quorum coming back. Blake Quorum, running back who was injured but was in the thick of the Heisman Trophy race, stated that the Michigan Wolverines will go to the national championship this upcoming season and they will win. Now, when we look at the landscape of college football, I think going into next year, there's some question marks on some very good teams, right? Obviously, Alabama, Georgia, they have question marks. They have to figure out what they're going to do in terms of the quarterback position. Tommy Rees will be the offensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide. So how quickly will he be able to install his system and have players ready to go? Todd Monken is flirting with the NFL. Who knows if he actually will take a particular job? But if that is the case, then Kirby Smart will be looking for an offensive coordinator to replace Todd Monken, who could have possibly, more than likely, could have also won the Broyles Award this past particular season, right? So those are two particular question marks. Then you go down to Ohio State, or go up to Ohio State. They're also dealing with the situation. They have a new quarterback that has to emerge. Brian Hartline, by all intents and purposes, is taking over play calling for the Buckeyes this upcoming season. Even though I don't think if it starts to get rough, I think Ryan Day may be able to step in and kind of salvage something. But you still got a situation where you have to replace a quarterback. So, as of today, and the only factor that I'm factoring in now is the return of the quarterback position, right? In no particular order, these will be my top 6 particular teams. So this is just based on this one particular thing, returning quarterback play versus what you also have coming back. No particular order. Top 6 teams will be Michigan, Washington, USC, Texas, LSU, Clemson. Now, I don't want any Georgia or Alabama fans to get upset by what I just said because, again, all teams have question marks. But one of the things that you know that you need, and this is kind of another omission for the Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs, because I think they both are dealing with or about to deal with something that a lot of teams or the majority of rest of college football has to deal with, and that is not having the amount of depth that you need and also playing more freshmen or more younger players than you need. Both teams have had defections from the transfer portal, and obviously they already have defections for the NFL draft, but it's kind of an even higher hill to climb because you can mitigate, okay, well, I know that I got some guys going to the draft. Okay, well, we got some guys behind them that have redshirted, that have worked, and they're going to get to play. But then when you have guys that are going to the draft, and then you have people that were projected to be starters the following year, they go to the transfer portal. Now you're putting yourself in a situation where it's like, okay, well, we got to figure something out. And I think that's one of the things that people in Alabama saw. Obviously, Bill O'Brien's going to be looked at as the scapegoat. But the wide receiver play from Alabama this particular year was not what Alabama saw from wide receiver play when Jameson Williams and Mechie and them were there. And we kind of saw that a lot. Well, we kind of saw a precursor to that in the national championship game when you didn't have Jameson Williams and Mechie there. So then you come into this particular year, and by all accounts, Alabama did not live up to expectations, right? I'm sure that's a fan base that's expecting to be in the playoffs every single year, and they lost 2 games this particular year. Didn't even win the SEC West, lost to an LSU team that looked to be dead in the water. So they have questions that they have to answer, and many media pundits, I guess, depending on how you look at it, feel like, well, Tommy Rees is not going to be the answer, and Kevin Steele, he's not the answer either. So that's going to be interesting. And like I said, going over to the University of Georgia, having to deal with the situation similar to Alabama, where you have maybe some projected starters or some guys that may have not, played the way that you needed them to play, and now they will be dependent on heavily. So I think both teams will have to probably dip more into the portal, maybe after the second session after spring. But again, this is just today. Now, University of Michigan, they have a quarterback, right? May not be that good of a quarterback, but who knows, maybe he can take another jump this upcoming year. You return Blake Corum, you return Brian Edwards. Edwards probably is going to go into next year probably as the best running back in all of college football because of the versatility that he has. So they could, and they're returning. Many people saying that the offensive line that they're going to have this upcoming year is better than the previous 2 years, which is saying a mouthful. Defense comes back, very stingy unit. Then you go out to Washington. Washington sneakily had a very good season last year, returning Michael Penix for another year, so that's big time for them. So maybe the Pac-12 could be in a position this year where they could be in contention to maybe have two teams that challenge for a playoff berth. And obviously you got USC, Caleb Williams returning, Mario Williams returning. Good recruiting class, bringing in some more guys. Got to shore up that particular defense, but at the end of the day, this is kind of a quarterback's game, so you got to look at them. And then Texas. Texas, again, I've basically made 3 videos about Texas. First one being that Sarkisian has to make it to the playoffs, in my opinion, so he doesn't go into the SEC being on the hot seat. And then the other video, well, they actually are going to the SEC in 2024. So with the Quinn Ewers coming back, I think some transfer portal additions that for some guys they have one of the top returning wide receivers this upcoming year. And then, like I said, then they got A.D. Mitchell from Georgia who has speed to burn. And it seems that Quinn Ewers has an arm for it. Obviously, they're losing Bijan Robinson among some other particular pieces, but they should be right there in contention. And LSU, again, like I said, this was in no particular order. They're returning a good team. Brian Kelly is he's a top 5 coach in all of college football, regardless of how goofy he may be. And then obviously you got Clemson over there, Cade Klubnik, and then you get the Bros Award winning OC to come over there to help work with him. So they're going to be in contention, right? And obviously they're going to return a good defense as well. And then you could probably, you could throw Oregon in there, but I just don't know what to expect out of Bo Nix going into next year. But if Alabama and Georgia are able to answer those particular questions about who they're going to be their quarterback is, then I don't think Michigan stands a chance. I don't think I think the only 2 teams, I say this, if Alabama and Georgia are able to handle their quarterback position situations, then I guess you have no choice but the top 4 to be Georgia, Alabama. I'm still going to put USC up there, and I'm still going to put Clemson there, even though I feel like you could interchange them, USC with either Washington or LSU, and the same goes for Clemson. And I hate to say it, maybe even Florida State could factor into that, but who knows? But that's just what it is. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. And obviously Ohio State as well, they get that situation cleared out, then, that'll be that. But just today, based on that, those will be the top 6 teams that I have. And again, that is Michigan, Washington, USC, Texas, LSU, and Clemson, right? Those will be my 6 right now. So, Malik Bryant. I've stated multiple times Malik Bryant is my absolute favorite player in this particular recruiting class. And I think with the way that Lance Guidry uses the outside ends, I think that is going to bode well for Malik Bryant, especially if Malik Bryant can get up to about 235, 240. I don't want to put a ceiling on a particular player, but I think a lot of times we as fans, when we get highly rated players, we already pencil them and project them in to be full-time starters. But with the way that the rotation is, I think that a guy like Malik Bryant, even if he's not a full-time starter or if he's getting the bulk of the snaps, I think his ability, especially with the way the offenses are run now, I think he could be a better version of Trent Harris. Trent Harris was a very, very good player for us. He wasn't a starter due to his body type, wouldn't have allowed for him to necessarily play major minutes against teams that maybe just can line up and just run the football. But when we were playing balanced offenses, he was very good. I believe his last year here, he tallied about 8 sacks, and coming in, many people compare him to Olivier Vernon in terms of his ability to get after the passer. So I think a player who recruiting sites, and this is just the interpretation that I got, was that he was projected, and this Malik Bryant, was going to be a dominant edge, but he stopped growing. He didn't get any taller. Maybe they was figuring that he would be 6'4", maybe 6'5", but he just kind of stopped at 6'2", maybe 6'1". I don't really know the official measurements, but again, similar height to a Trent Harris. And again, I've told people I feel like he is so polished off the edge. I feel like he is so polished, and I feel like that's where we need to start him at. And I think Lance Guidry will see that. And whoever is the other linebacker coach. Obviously, I think Ryan White again is coaching the DNs. Jason Taylor helps out, so I think they should be oozing to have a guy like Malik Bryant on the edge. And like I said, the same thing goes for Cyrus Moss as well, and even a Jaden Wayne, even though Jaden Wayne fits that prototypical size. But I do think Malik Bryant could be this could be Lance Guidry being in the building, to me, solidifies what position that we could play him at. Even though some people feel like that we should, move him to Mike and all these particular things like this. But I just look at it like this. If the player already has a particular strength and is getting after the passer and running after that, then let's let him do that. The player name skips my mind, but we ended up moving him to middle backer. But he was, I don't know if he went to, I forgot what school he went to, but he ended up moving to linebacker. But I remember during his recruitment, he was a South Florida DN, and I think he got by like 20 sacks his senior year. I can't forget what his name was. It's not Mike Jackson. It may be Mike Jackson. I can't remember what the player name was, but he had a lot of sacks his senior year, but this was under the Golden regime, and so obviously he wasn't going to be able to grow into a 3-4 DN, so we ended up moving him back to linebacker. But I think I kind of look at Malik Bryant kind of in that same mode, but now we are in a defense or going to employ a defense that is not going to force him to go do something, because at the end of the day, it's about getting players on the field and it's about having players be productive. Now, of course, I will say this. If there is a situation where he can go back to a traditional linebacker spot and thrive at that role, then the sky's the limit. I mean, the sky's the limit. But I'm not the coach. This is just my opinion on the ordeal or the set of situations. But as always, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and as always, it's all about the you.